Well, let's jump in. Jump in the water, as it were, because I wanted to talk about softness today. I was sitting with a young man yesterday on Zoom, a friend, not a client, a friend who lost his sister recently, very tragically. I won't get into the story, but he was holding her hand as she took her last breath, and he was reaching out to his community, which I really appreciated. And one of the things that came to my mind is, in the process of grief, no matter how intense it might seem, to allow that river, so to speak, to flow through you. Because as you know, and there are many therapists out there that I'm talking to, when we hold on to grief or any emotion, that can set up a different kind of a cascade, maybe reduce immune system functioning, certainly contribute to anxiety, stress, and depression. And so that element of water is showing up for me lately, maybe because the sun is getting warmer and warmer in my neck of the woods. There's a classic saying by the Tao Te Ching attributed to Lao Tzu, that water is fluid, soft, and yielding, but water will wear away rock, which is rigid and cannot yield. As a rule, whatever is fluid, soft, and yielding will overcome whatever is rigid and hard. This is another paradox. What is soft is strong. And that way of thinking, of course, is integrated into my Tai Chi practice, and I try to convey that in some of our meditations. It's not to make softness into something that we should always strive for, but rather to see softness in the place of all those elements that we spoke about. But I think we can probably all relate to the opposite of softness, which is constriction or hardening. And then the underside of that might be softer emotions, if you will, like tenderness, sadness, and aspects of compassion. So I'm thinking that softness can really support openness to experience. And the opposite, tightness, especially forehead, chest, belly, might be connected to worry, tension, anxiety. So those are some of the emotional aspects. Relationally, when we connect with softness, we're more likely to be able to adapt in relationships. Someone says something we don't like, and if we create a sense of hardness or a push, then we create tension with our own self. I call this the Tai Chi of relationship. If we can soften, not be a pushover, mind you, if we can soften, stay grounded in our body, connecting with that earth element, then we can have an opportunity for dialogue that's based on a going back and forth. Of course, the shadow side of adaptability is codependency, just going with the flow without really establishing our own individuated perspective. And that can be problematic as well. So we don't want to inflate, the softness quality, although it is very powerful and very useful. I think of rigidity, and I think of the times that I've felt stress in my body thinking about a person, a place, or a thing. Have been times when I've rigidified, I've judged, and how the quality of softness can help me to move through that and literally breathe more easily and feel a sense of ease through the body. So physical constriction can sometimes be, of course, a corollary of emotional constriction. So the question is, I've got a few ideas. What are the skills that can help us to identify and move through constriction and rigidity? I have a few ideas here, and then I'll open up that question for you and with another question, perhaps. Some of the skills, of course, include mindfulness. And I'm thinking that mindfulness allows us to know when we're not being soft, if we're talking about softness here, allows us to identify and to know when we're being rigid, when we're being constricted, when there's a hardness in the neck, So that's a knowing quality of mindfulness. And of course, another skill is stopping that train of doing, so that we can check into our body, mind, and engaging in intentional practices that support deep relaxation, not just mindful relaxation, practices like Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, autogenic training, breath work, massage, a warm bath, and connecting with softness in nature, plants, animals, and water can be very helpful, including goats. That's another sidebar. Yesterday, Linda connected with a baby goat and she held it in her hands. And that transmission of softness and nurturing, I think, was internalized and very palpable. That's another story. But animals, as some of you pet owners know, can connect you to softness. When you pet that fur, we know the blood pressure lowers, the heart rate lowers. That's a quality of softness. So I'll end on this quote by Thich Nhat Hanh, one of my favorite books on, I would say, in some ways, a poetic introduction to mindfulness without being very technical. It's called Peace is Every Step, subtitled The Path of Mindfulness in Everyday Life. And one of the things I really like about this book is that it's a series of 1- and 2-page teaching stories that you can use to support your own mindfulness practice, to share with those people, friends and clients that you might be working with. So Thich Nhat Hanh says, in us there is a river of feelings in which every drop of water is a different feeling, and each feeling relies on all the others for its existence. To observe it, we just sit on the bank of the river and identify each feeling as it surfaces, flows by, and disappears. So the river of feelings. And that's what I was trying to convey to my friend around grief. If we just stick with it and not push it away, and he was very open to sticking with it, it will have its own course, not the course we want. And sooner or later, it will disappear because all experiences are temporary. So likening the emotional process to a river of feelings can be really helpful, especially when we're in a great deal of emotional pain. We have to remember that sooner or later, those feelings will disappear. So the question today is, what are the conditions that create constriction and rigidity for you? And then the other side of that, what are the conditions that create softening and opening for you?